Damn, there is seemingly no extent to Genesis. I mean, it's perfectly fair that he's going to be absurdly broken, given he's not just a kind of spin-off villain, but he's pretty much, crossover villain. He's fighting three main characters at once, so him being broken as all hell just seems fair. And so far, it's like, oh, what kind of crazy abilities has he shown? He hasn't shown any, crazy hacks outside the fact that he's got, the Oasis Darkbring that, pretty much gives him the power over creation. He can just do things. Like, the chapter, begins. We got Julia and Let, and they're just kind of sitting around. They run into Pino. And what's funny is I noticed two really nice moments of Pino just being as cute as possible in both the Heroes chapter and the Eden Zero chapter. And I forgot that I think it was chapter 16 that Pino's just became so much more chibi than she was upon initial debut. If you go look back at, chapter 7 or whatever, when she, popped out of that suitcase, she just looked small. She was just a small robot, and then she became, she achieved mascot status and just became cuter just by default. But when they Julia calls her a rabbit, and Rebecca is just trying to be well, it's, it's a little hard to explain, but we'll just call her a rabbit. I don't know, they just call her a robot, but she's just so happy. She's just I'm a rabbit now, and I really do like Pino. She's just a delight. Everything about Pino is just a delight. She's such a nice little robot. But we have, at least Wendy knows. Wendy's fully aware that she's not a rabbit. I feel like she's smart enough to know that she's made of metal. I hope that Gajil never comes across her. Am I trying to eat her? I don't know. But, he's got some fun interactions with the characters, and they're just kind of coercing. Meanwhile, we got Haru, Natsu, and Shiki, who are, trading names. And both Haru and Natsu are weirded out that there's, there are no Aki or Fuyu, which, you have Haru, meaning spring, Natsu, meaning summer, Shiki, meaning 4 seasons, and then Aki is fall, and Fuyu is winter, which is funny, because, that's what a lot of people, thought of as well. Whereas Aki is part of a short story, he's got 2 volumes from Monster Soul. Fuyu is, you can kind of take Fuyu differently, because there's Fuyu, I can't remember his full name, he's from, Star Squad Combo or something, Star Squad Mixture. It was a small one-shot. You can check it out in the in Mishima's Playground, Mishima's Playground. It's just a bunch of his one-shots and stuff. And that main character, you can kind of think, well, I assume it's going to be that one because it's main characters, but you can also kind of look at Toka, because Toka over in Fairy Tail can be translated to winter, though I think it'd just go straight to Fuyu because that's the version they use. Regardless of which, you have Happy, who fourth wall breaks and explains that both Aki, and he says a Fuyu exists, which is again why I'm a little bit curious of that one, because is it going to be that version, or is he saying Fuyu as in a winter and then it ends up being Toka, or is it going to be the character from that spin that one shot, and maybe maybe after one of the spin-offs is over, either Happy's Adventure or City Hero, and one of them will get onto that and continue that series. Either way, I like that Happy fourth wall breaks confirms that they exist, because I've said way back when I first started doing the whole Mishima-verse, later as Hiro Mishima himself called it Mishima World, I said well, we could bring in not just the main characters, but characters from short stories like Monster Soul and the one-shots, and it looks like that is fully possible. That is in itself fully possible, and not only do they confirmed exist, but it's hinted, maybe they're going to be for the next time he does Heroes. Maybe this one is going to be, Haru, Natsu, and Shiki, and the next one it's well, we'll bring in more. Maybe he'll do another one next year. That is, up to question. Or maybe he'll just, he'll bring him in at the end and have all of his main characters and important people show up to fight Genesis. But then, you get some of the things you would expect from a crossover where you have certain characters reoccurring, whereas Plu is more prominent in Rave Master, as Haru, is pretty much the Rave Bear. He's always going to be there with the Rave Master. He's, the mascot for that one. Happy is almost said Rave Master. Happy is the mascot for Fairy Tail, but there is a Happy, version robot in Eden Zero, but he's not even close to as important. And you'll probably get something continue onward with something comes after 8-0. You'll get like Pino somehow, but not really. And then same thing with Happy and Plu. But they're kind of arguing it because Natsu's like, this little guy belongs to Lucy, and Haru's like, no, this he's the Wraith Bearer. It's obviously that one is Haru's. That's he's the primary in that matter. But Natsu is reminded by Happy that Plu is was it Canis Minor? There's a lot of them. He's seen a lot of them, and Shiki's seen a lot of them because they're the restaurant where a bunch of them work that he's met early in the series. And then while they're kind of just discussing and just having fun in just their interactions, here's Genesis. He shows up. Obviously, Haru thinks it's Sieg. Natsu thinks it's Jalal, but he notices it doesn't smell like him. And you got this guy, Genesis, is just saying he's Genesis, the god of creativity, but at that point, again, the question is, why did he pick this face? Why did he pick this name? I still am behind the idea that, the unmarked people are the connecting point of Hiromishima's multiverse. I'm going to stand by that until otherwise, given a full version of what it is. And he's just pretty much talking about this point. As a god of creativity, he can just think things and they occur, which again is broken, but you'd expect that from a crossover bad guy like this. I mean, if it was like a one chapter one, like in they added Goldio in the anime version of the Fairy Tail Rave Master one, and it was like, well, it's okay. He's he was a silly character instead they fought. Whereas this guy Genesis is just a threat because Haru tells him to get out of here. He's not aware that Shiki and Natsu are both pretty powerful, and now these characters are all going to team up, and they're deciding to go against Genesis. Now, again, in the crossover, power levels seem to all kind of, sync up. In reality, you got Natsu at the top, then Haru, then Shiki, and in this one, you have them all just leveled out. The characters are going to be equal in all respects, so each of them are going to have their own specialties. And here you can see all of them, they can keep up with each other in speed. They seem to have similar levels of combat capabilities, but Genesis is just kind of noping all their attacks, throwing attacks around, and you got some of them dodging and blocking. I did like that Natsu's more on like quick motion, getting out of the way. Haru's really on blocking. Shiki's got just the level of maneuverability with his ability instead, is able to try and get that first attack in, gets blocked. You got Natsu coming in to try and do an attack. It gets blocked and thrown. Haru comes in with, one of his sword forms, Blue Crimson. That gets stopped. Here he is, just Genesis grabbing it and then, bare hand, and then, tosses him aside. Again, I would like to point out, because they're all about equal, they should all be about equal with their own, whatever their own specialty is. Natsu's straight, I would say power and durability. Shiki's is maneuverability. Haru's is his level of utility. Shiki tries to come in with another attack, tries to drop on him with a gravity attack, misses, but who's the first one to land an attack? First one to land an attack. I just want to point that out, my boy Natsu. You can have your favorite out of the three, perfectly fine with me, but I would like to point out, first one to actually land a hit was in fact Natsu. And then they start kind of barraging attacks. He coming in with the Haru's got explosion, he got Shiki's using his gravity bullets. But then, I almost said Sieg. It's funny how the one that he looks most like is Jalal, but I go with Sieg. I should just call it whole Magic Illusion, getting the OG in there. Or OG of OG. Well, I guess now Jalal is starting to kind of get in that. Would Jalal be OG? No, it'd be like, Magic Illusion would be like, what? Triple, and then Sieg would be double. And then, you just have Jalal as just the OG. And then, now it's Justice. But Justice, I don't think, Shiki hasn't met Justice, so he wouldn't even bring him into this matter. But they're all just kind of like fighting. Genesis uses Meteor, and he brings up the fact he can just think of a spell and apparently do it. But the fact he has Meteor makes me think that there are, again, aspects to, the eye-marked people that are conjoined throughout the whole multiverse. One of them is heavenly body abilities. It was not the only thing that Sieghart had, but he had, his upper spells were all heavenly body magic. And you had Natsu, or I almost said Natsu. It's not even close. You have Jalal, who's got heavenly body magic. He's got his own spells. He's got a couple variations, like side spells and different elements, but primarily he's just heavenly body magic, but he's also got true heavenly body magic. We don't know anything really about Justice's Ether Gear yet, so we can't really use that. But he pretty much says at this point that he can just think of spells and think of abilities and amplify them, give himself these, because the Oasis gives him the power of creation. And he just steamrolls through all these guys. He just busts through them and just nopes Natsu, Haru, and Shiki without much of effort. And he says like he can just amplify his own abilities infinitely, which in a normal sense, like I'd be like, well, that's maybe he's just kind of exaggerating. But again, this is a crossover Elseworlds version. This guy might be, with this, the most powerful person in that respective universe, because he could be more powerful than Lucian the Endless. He could be more powerful than Acnologia or Ankh-Saram. He could be more powerful than Mother in this version, because this is an entirely different version where, it's just amalgamation of these series. And then you get back, you have Urza, Rebecca, Lucy, and everybody just fighting up a bunch of, the little construct monsters. There was a nice little moment when Let and Wendy noticed each other breathing elements. And it's funny because with Wendy, it would just be like, oh, you're a Dragon Slayer of whatever type. You can be of different types of generation, or he could be a God Slayer, he could be a Demon Slayer. He does say dragon in there, but I'm just talking about in general. And then, but with Let, it's different, because with the Dragon race, it's not like Dragon Slayer magic. If you just want to look at Dragon Slayer, they have an attribute, and then you have a variation of it. Like, obviously, Natsu's Fire Dragon. You have Gajil's Iron, Wendy's Wind. With the Dragon race from Rave Master, it's more like you have dragon abilities, and each one is a different, something dragons, something. Like, they have Fire Dragon's Drought. They have, it's pretty much just Fire Breath. They have, like, I think the Earth Dragon has like a big ground stomp, like the normal like big heavy punch is like the Tiger Dragon. It's spread more of like each type of dragon has a different technique that they could use and they could learn. It's not the same as like a whole skill branch of different abilities. It's more like a specific martial art rather than a magic tree branch of whatever you develop in that. And then you have the explanation of what Carla tells him, that she's a Dragon Slayer. Two characters who are of a dragon race hearing, oh yeah, my power is called Dragon Slayer, it probably could be an unease. And then Elia is unnerved because she can sense that Haru is in danger, her being linked to the Ravestones, Haru being in a dangerous state. Makes sense that she would kind of get in this, worry of how he's doing. And Genesis is just, he's just mauling the hell out of him. The full extent of how each of these characters are, again, we don't know. The only one that for sure should have a form is Shiki should have his, normal, like, full-body Ether Gear form. I imagine that, like, Natsu will have at least an upgraded form, maybe like Lightning Flame Dragon or just Dragon Force, just straight to Dragon Force. Who cares? Haru might have Revolt. Each of them will probably have their ace thing before the end of this crossover. But the question is when are they going to pop it? Because they got beaten, but they were all in their kind of like standard setup. Because with Haru, Haru's is all dependent on his sword, but out of all his swords, he's each of them give him a different boost. Revolt just gives him an all-around large stat increase, similar to how, Natsu's forms give him, and, Shiki's full body Ether Gear gives him. I would like to point out, because somebody caught this on, I think, Reddit, because I noticed that the chapter titles are weird, because I was like, why are they all in bold English? What's with that? Because it's not, Hiromishima's done English titles before, but a lot of the time it's in Japanese, and sometimes you'll get ones in English, but all the chapters of Heroes have been in English. And somebody caught that each letter of them, the chapters, Heroes, Island, Rebel, Oasis, this chapter 5 is Mix, and the next chapter called Attack. It's spelling out Hiromishima's name, so the end of it'll be 11 chapters, with each chapter spelling out Hiromishima, which again is neat. It reminds me of, like the countdown to Fairy Tail Zero in volume 57, or the thank you at the end of Fairy Tail before, we got to what was quote-unquote the ending. But, so we're at chapter 5, we're about halfway, 6 more chapters. This being the whole beaten part, and then we'll see how they recover and how Genesis decides to really take things, because he apparently has this infinite level of power. They're gonna have to pretty much use everything they can, instead not to defeat him, but to get to the Darkbring, because the Darkbring is what fuels them. If they can destroy it, and they could cut off his power, and it will, he'll go back to just being Shinra. And maybe we'll find out some information of like why he took this form, and because he's not Jalal, he's not Sieg, he's not Mystic, he's not Justice. I'm going with that whole idea that they are this link between their multiverse, and the fact that you have like Happy fourth wall breaking, be like, there's Aki and Fuyu in existence, but that'll be later. It just tells me that Hiramashima is not done with this whole cross multiverse thing. There's gonna be more. So other than that, comment below, tell me what you thought about this chapter. It was good. I mean, the chapter, it felt pretty short because, I mean, really, the basics of this chapter, now that we've got the characters united, this was a time to see the villain in work, and he's just flexing on them pretty much the entirety of this chapter. So hopefully in the next one they either escape, maybe figure out a way to overcome this and develop a strategy, because they're going to need to. They've still got 6 chapters, so they got plenty of time if they're able to get this far in only 5, and you don't need a whole lot of different setup. Genesis can construct this castle, construct a couple bad guys, just make some servants, give them a name, and have them fight groups of guys, and then meanwhile the main characters can skip over them while all the side characters, you can have all the cool rival guys, Musica, Gray, and Wise go fight one. You can have the badass chicks with Urza, Julia, and Omura go and group against one. You can have the lead females with Lucy, Rebecca, and Ellie go fight one. And again, the main characters can skip over it, go right for the bad guy. You can just have all that fun. You don't need backstory on these guys, because it's like legitimately not just crossover. You can look like, they're literally just created. They don't have a backstory. You literally just created them in their mind. It's kind of like with Rusty Rose when he created, it's like all his like cool monsters and towers and stuff. All these things that sounded fancy and important, but in reality he just made them on the spot. Anyway, like I said, comment below. Tell me about the chapter. I'd really appreciate if you befriend the like button. Thumbs up the video, befriend the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. I'm almost at 2,000. I need 8 more subs. Really appreciate if you check out my other videos, like I said. And thanks all for listening, and everyone who's already subscribed. Bye.